Welcome to Accommodate This. Today, I'd like to talk about Del Bigtree, a man with no medical background who became one of the most prominent voices promoting natural medicine and anti-vax conspiracies. His ideas are based on Andrew Wakefield's debunked theories about vaccines causing autism. But who is Del Bigtree, and how did he get involved with the anti-vax movement? These questions and more are what I want to address in today's video. And now that you know why we're here, let's get into the topic for this video. Del Bigtree. Now, Del Bigtree is the son of Norma Bigtree and the minister Jack Groverland. Norma and Jack run a ministry known as the Unity of Boulder Spiritual Community. Jack has also authored 4 books: Miracles Made Easy, Ego Wars, Alchemist 5, and Escape to Another Dimension. Although Del has no medical training, he is one of the most prominent voices in the anti-vax movement and in the natural health arena. He's a talented film director who's won multiple Emmy Awards and the Health Freedom Hero Award from the National Health Federation, or NHF, which is the oldest natural health organization in America. Let's talk about some of the people in his orbit, starting with Bernard and Lisa Seltz. In 1961, Bernard Seltz was driving the car that hit actor John Payne. And 12 years later, in 1973, Bernard Seltz founded Furman Seltz, a research-driven investment boutique. Now, the company transitioned to professional management between 1983 and 1986. And in 1986, Bernard founded the Seltz Foundation, which is a tax-exempt, nonprofit foundation providing grants to support wildlife, arts, education, environment, and museums. The following year, 1987, his original company, Furman Seltz, was purchased by Xerox for $110 million. In 1993, Bernard married Lisa Pagliaro, now Lisa Seltz, and the same year he purchased Furman Seltz again. So they then sold Furman Seltz a second time in 1997 to the company known as ING. They're now known as Voya for $600 million. Bernard Seltz and Ian Lieberman co-founded the hedge fund Seltz Capital in 2004, focused on asset management. Now, back to Del. He briefly worked with Dr. Phil, producing 5 episodes of his show. And he also produced 30 episodes of The Doctors over 5 years. And while working on The Doctors television show, Del learned about Andrew Wakefield's conspiracy theories and believed the CDC was hiding the connection between the MMR vaccine and autism, all of which has been completely discredited. In 2012, the Seltz Foundation gifted $200,000 to Andrew Wakefield. Then in 2016, Bigtree teamed up with Wakefield to create the movie Vaxxed: From Cover-Up to Catastrophe, which is based on Wakefield's discredited and unsubstantiated theories. Now, the money from the Seltz Foundation was used to help fund the film, which was produced and written by Del Bigtree, who also appeared in the film. The Seltz Foundation also donated $1.6 million to the Autism Media Channel, LLC, founded by Andrew Wakefield. Also in 2016, Del founded and became CEO of the anti-vax group Informed Consent Action Network, or ICAN, and Lisa Seltz became its first president. Informed consent is the idea of healthcare providers explaining all available treatment options to patients, but allowing the patient to ultimately decide which option works best for them. This is one of the arguments for anti-vaxxers who claim they should be able to decide if they should be vaccinated rather than be subjected to mandates. However, that argument breaks down when you consider they're taking away choices from immunocompromised people who may die because of those who spread the disease that was preventable through vaccination. So informed consent is just one more turn of phrase designed to make anti-vaxxers seem reasonable and justified, when in reality, they're selfish, ignorant, and irresponsible. Now, Bigtree gained popularity in 2017 through hosting the weekly podcast, The High Wire, which he claims is the educational arm of ICANN. His podcast was known for spewing anti-vax rhetoric, frequently featuring RFK Jr. as a prominent guest, and spreading conspiracy theories that government officials were colluding with the pharmaceutical industry to cover up the harms of vaccines. In April 2019, Dell used a yellow Star of David, similar to the ones the Nazis forced Jews to wear during World War II, to promote his anti-vax rhetoric. The symbol was being worn by several anti-vaxxers, but the word Jew was replaced with the words no vax, written in Hebraic style. He was criticized for attempting to compare the persecution of the Jews to the treatment of those who oppose vaccines. And Dell claimed that the star he wore did not say no vax, and that he wore it in solidarity with the Hasidic Jewish community. The Anti-Defamation League, ADL, said it was hugely inappropriate to use such an enduring symbol of Jewish persecution. The ADL, by the way, was originally founded in 1913 in order to stop anti-Semitism. Dell not only minimizes the plight of the Jews during the Holocaust, but he also minimizes the dangers of preventable diseases in order to spread his anti-vax views. For example, in June 2019, during a measles outbreak, Dell Bigtree told reporters in Brooklyn they should be allowed to have measles if they want the measles. It's crazy that there's this level of intensity around a trivial childhood illness. Of course, the measles is not a trivial childhood disease. It was known to kill more than 400 Americans every year until the vaccine was developed in 1963. It's easy for people like Dell Bigtree to get away with the spread of false conspiracies because he is swimming in pools of money. Aside from the money made directing television shows and movies, his company ICANN received a donation of $1 million in 2019, which accounted for about 75% of ICANN's yearly budget of $1.4 million. And together, the Seltz Foundation and ICANN have helped each other to spread misinformation under the guise that they are humanitarian efforts. While the Seltz Foundation spent roughly $3 million by 2019 on anti-vax efforts, tax records show ICANN has amassed enough funds to turn a profit while spending $20 million between 2017 and 2024 for their anti-vax efforts, including $6 million to the New York law firm Seary and Gilmstad to petition the federal government to pause or revoke vaccines, including one for polio. And today, ICANN is considered one of the largest anti-vax organizations out there. The About Us page of the ICANN website starts out by saying, "Meet the team committed to informed consent and the eradication of man-made disease." Again, informed consent is a buzzword designed to make the spread of deadly diseases sound like a human right. And man-made disease is another buzzword designed to suggest the conspiracy that conditions such as autism, ADHD, diabetes, lupus, and other autoimmune diseases are linked to chemical toxins created by humans. Toxins that have somehow seeped into our food, water, and air supplies. These ideas have been echoed by RFK Jr. multiple times since he has taken office as health secretary. In 2020, during the height of the COVID pandemic, the High Wire podcast had 174,000 followers before it was shut down for violating YouTube's community guidelines regarding the spread of pandemic misinformation. Facebook also removed portions of the High Wire account for the same reason, and then fully closed the account before the end of the year. However, the podcast was still being distributed on Twitter, Roku, Rumble, and the High Wire's website, which alone attracts about 1 million viewers each month. Now, in response to these shutdowns, ICANN petitioned the Supreme Court, stating that the US government, specifically President Joe Biden, was censoring opponents of the COVID vaccine, which was a violation of their First Amendment rights of freedom of speech. But Biden wasn't even president until 2021, in which case Bigtree spoke at the pro-Trump MAGA Freedom Rally at the Capitol preceding the riot on January 6th, and he was also one of the main speakers at the anti-vax rally in DC called Defeat the Mandates on January 23rd, 2022, which was sponsored by Republican Senator Ron Johnson.
And mark my words, we will hold Tony Fauci accountable. We will hold Deborah Birx accountable. We will hold Joe Biden accountable. But unlike the Nuremberg trials that only tried those doctors that destroyed the lives of human beings, we are going to come after the press that lied to the world, that worked as a propaganda machine to push this. Glorious in truth, because we are endowed with one great power, the power of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not given to us by this capital or by this government, but by God himself. We are the light warriors. We were the representation of our God that inspired our founding fathers to write the greatest document for freedom and liberty that has ever been created. And you are trying to destroy it. Yes, you, the media, and you, the doctors that have gone along with it, and you politicians that refuse to listen to the people. Well, now you are running for the hills. The UK is... We are on the right side of history. God said to us, I have created you in the image and likeness of myself. And scientists are supposed to challenge every single idea. It's the scientific method. And the journalists of this world, we are supposed to adhere to that exact same mandate. We are the fourth estate. We are the fourth branch of government endowed with that power by our founding fathers. So as the media that owns that television, I don't care that pharma is paying you. I don't care that Joe Biden rolled out $4 billion to try to stop this. You have failed. Recognize it. Get back to the people. Get back to your master, which is God, and not pharma, not man.
RFK Jr. and his lawyer, Aaron Siri, of Siri and Gilmstad, spoke at the same rally.
Even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You can hide in an attic like Anne Frank did. I visited in 1962 East Germany with my father and met people who had climbed the wall and escaped. So it was possible. Many died doing it, but it was possible. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. They're putting in 5G to harvest our data and control our behavior. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Vaccine passports.
Both Kennedy and Bigtree were criticized for their anti-Semitic remarks, where RFK Jr. compared vaccines to the Holocaust and Bigtree promised a Nuremberg trial for medical professionals and the press. Siri petitioned the FDA to revoke approval of the polio vaccine and 12 other vaccines for tetanus, diphtheria, hepatitis A, and more. And he cited the use of aluminum in the creation of those vaccines, claiming they are linked to an increase in cases of asthma. Jay Bhattacharya, Trump's director of the NIH, also spoke at the rally. Bigtree seemed emboldened by his popularity and continued to donate money to anti-vax efforts. For instance, in 2022, his company ICANN donated $176,000 to a UK-based company owned by a chiropractor who lectured on the debunked dangers of vaccines and 5G technology. I couldn't confirm the name of the company or its owner, which is why I'm not displaying a picture of them. Now, ICANN also donated $152,000 to Uncover DC, a news website founded by Tracy Diaz, known online as Tracy Beans, a conspiracy theorist and early promoter of QAnon. QAnon emerged in 2017 as a stronghold of political power for its followers who believed the world is controlled by a cabal of Satanists who rape and eat children. QAnon ended up seizing control of the Republican Party during the pandemic. And as a GOP leader in South Carolina, Tracy Beans spread all kinds of conspiracies against vaccines. However, she resigned from her position in 2022 in order to distance herself from QAnon after several QAnon supporters began losing political races across the state. Now, eventually, ICANN's complaints about free speech violations gathered attention and backing from 45 Republican lawmakers, including Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, Jim Jordan, Elise Stefanik, and Matt Gaetz, among others. The case made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and in February 2024, Jay Bhattacharya, now Trump's director of the NIH, became involved in these cases. And despite all of this political pressure, the Supreme Court determined ICANN's arguments had no standing or merit. By 2023, Bigtree was calling for the imprisonment of public health officials and executives of pharmaceutical companies for favoring COVID vaccines over the use of ineffective drugs such as hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, alleging people have been murdered in order to further the agenda of sinister globalist interests. Bigtree teamed up with Mickey Willis, the producer of the Plandemic conspiracy films, to exclusively stream the third Plandemic film on the Highwire. Bigtree is also the sole managing member of KFP Consulting LLC, a firm he established in May 2023. I couldn't find an icon that definitively connected him to that company, which is why I'm not showing it here. But at KFP, he served as RFK Jr.'s communications manager for his 2024 presidential campaign. And in July 2023, Kennedy's campaign had contributed $13,000 to KFP. Bigtree also collected $234,000 from ICANN in 2023, which reported a $23 million revenue for that year alone. In August 2023, RFK Jr. and Brian Hooker published the book Vax Unvax, Let the Science Speak, which included a foreword written by Del Bigtree. The book regurgitated the same anti-vax rhetoric we've discussed many times on this channel, and it's so clearly written with an agenda that Kennedy and Hooker wrote in the dedication that the industry-captured media will censor this book, so it's important to give it to friends, doctors, neighbors, expectant mothers, teachers, and others. After reading Vax Unvax, people will know the truth and will never be able to unknow it. And despite their cynicism, it was a New York Times bestseller. By the time RFK Jr. dropped from the race, KFP Consulting had received $350,000 from that campaign. Bigtree now leads the organizations known as MAHA Alliance, a political action committee, and MAHA Action, which claims to advocate for a healthier America free of corporate interests. Both of these, of course, brandish the same name and slogan as the effort being charged by RFK Jr., which I discussed in my video on the MAHA report. Backed by Bigtree and RFK Jr., these organizations may not technically be corporations, but they definitely have a lot of money and investors with interests in promoting anti-vax conspiracies that will impact policy decisions in our government. Now, in this way, Del Bigtree continues to influence the downward trajectory of our healthcare system. People like Del have no issues with the lives that are lost to preventable diseases. They have no issues using autism as a hot-button topic to further stigmatize an already marginalized segment of the population. They have no problem spreading misinformation because that's what sells tickets to rallies and draws in investors. In the end, they don't care about the cost to our communities, our families, and to you. All they care about is making money. These people need to be stopped, and we all need to stop listening to them. Until next time, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, and subscribe to see more content like this, or click on the video here to continue watching.